to Science Week by QV Mag Online. My name's Sue, I'm the Education Officer here at QV Mag, and this is our second episode in our Ocean Science Experiment series. So today we're going to look at how some of our animals can survive in the ocean. We're going to look at how whales survive where it's really cold, how fish can breathe underwater, and how some of our animals can live in the depths of the ocean where there's a whole lot of pressure. But first of all, I want to look at whales. So some of you might have been lucky enough to see a whale going past Tasmania. Now, whales live all over the world, but in summer, some of them live in Antarctica and feed, and then they migrate, which means they move and they go up towards the equator where they breed, often off Queensland. So how do they live in the really cold temperatures off Antarctica? So if we went in the water in Antarctica, we wouldn't be able to survive for very long, but they can live there for a really long time and stay warm. So how do they do it? We're going to do a little experiment today. The things you're going to need for the experiment: 2 snap-lock bags, some sort of butter or margarine, and a bowl of iced water. So I've just made lots of ice cubes and popped it in there. So this is a really easy experiment. First thing I want you to do is get your hand and put it in the cold water. And see how long you think you might be able to leave it in there. Obviously you don't want your hand to turn blue. It's getting a little bit cold now. I'm starting to really start to feel it. So if I had to live there all the time, that would be a serious problem. So how do whales do it? Well, whales have thick blubber, which means essentially they have a big thick layer of fat underneath their skin, which helps keep them warm. We're going to make an example of that today. So what I've already done is I've got my 2 snap-lock bags. I've put them inside each other, and between the layers, I've put lots of butter. Now, if I stick my hand inside the bag, I'm going to pop it back in the icy cold water. I can't feel that nearly as much as I could before. But I think you should give it a shot at home and see how long till you can feel the cold coming through the bag. So this simple experiment shows you how whales can stay warm in cool water. Now, whales, as you might know, are mammals like us, so they need to breathe air. So you might have been lucky enough to see whales come up to the surface to breathe. Fish, however, don't need to breathe air. They can get their oxygen out of the water, and that's the experiment we're going to do next. So now we're going to look at how fish can breathe underwater. Obviously, as humans, we can't breathe underwater. The way we get oxygen is that we breathe in, the air goes into our lungs, then the oxygen moves into our blood from our lungs and around our bodies. Now, fish need to get oxygen out of the water. So today we're going to do an experiment, and the things you're going to need: a spoon, some coffee grounds, 1 jar with some water in it, 1 jar without water in it, a coffee filter. If you don't have one, maybe you could try kitchen paper or something like that, and an elastic band. So first of all, take some coffee and mix it into the water, like so. Then we're going to take the coffee filter, pop it over the top of the jar, attach it with the elastic band. Make sure it's got a little bit of space down in there. Now we're going to try pouring the coffee through the filter. So in here, the coffee is representing the oxygen in the water, and as we pour it through here, the filter is acting like the gills of the fish. So what we can see happening here really quite slowly is that the coffee is getting trapped by the filter paper. Now, as a fish swims, this happens faster. The fish takes in water through its mouth and pushes it out through the gills, and as the water goes across the gills, the oxygen is extracted, and then the oxygen can move around the fish's body through its blood. So different animals can live at different parts of the ocean in the different layers, from the top at the sunlight layer, and some of them down even into the very low layers of the ocean. Now, as you go down under the water, you have more and more water pushing down on top of you. And we're going to do an experiment to see if there's more pressure as you go down further in the ocean. So what you're going to need, I've used a plastic bottle here, and I've used a soldering iron. You might get an adult to help you use a drill, and I've drilled 3 holes in our plastic bottle. Then I filled it with water, but before that, I masking taped it up so that the water wouldn't come out. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop it into our container. We're going to remove the tape. We're going to see what happens. You can see that the water down the bottom of the bottle is pushed out further. The water at the bottom of the bottle has the weight of more water pushing down on top of it and therefore is under more pressure. So we found out that there's more pressure as you go further down the ocean. Now it helps as an animal to have a body that can withstand lots of pressure. If you have lots of bones that can break under great pressure, hard bones, that's going to be difficult. You might have heard of a fish called a blobfish. Now a blobfish looks different out of the water than in the water. In the water, it looks more like a normal fish shape. Out of the water, it kind of looks more squished. In the water is pushing at it from all the sides, helping it to stay in shape. We're going to do a little experiment to show how a squishy animal can do better under pressure. What you're going to need for that is a plastic syringe. It doesn't have a needle, it's just a syringe. And mini marshmallows. So take our mini marshmallow with the stripes on it, pop our finger on the end of the syringe, marshmallow in, pop the syringe plunger in the end and pushing down. What's happening to the marshmallow as we put it under more and more pressure? So here the weight of the air is pressing down on it. Under the sea on a blobfish, it's the weight of the water pressing down on it. So today we've found out how some of our animals survive in the ocean, how whales survive where it's really cool down near Antarctica, how fish can breathe underwater, and how some of our animals can live under high pressure. The next episode of Ocean Science Experiments, we're going to explore how different animals move and sense their environment. We hope to see you then.